So with last week's blog, I spoke about being true to yourself and how we have a tendency to look outside of ourselves on how to be rather than going inside and being true to what we're feeling and our call for action that's coming from inside. So this week, in some ways, is an extension of that. And so say that you've been learning some skills, you've been working with being true to yourself. And say that that there's another person you're relating to. Okay, it could be your significant other, it could be a friend, it could be a child, it could be a parent. Say that they're relatively true to themselves as well. Okay, so you're in this authentic conversation where you're both speaking your truths. Okay, and in this case, in this example, what happens if those things are not meshing well? Like maybe you're disagreeing about the true nature of things. Your truth is saying it's really important that your truth is this way, and then their truth is in conflict with that. Okay, and maybe even your truth is triggering them, and their truth is triggering you, and or your truth is threatening to them, and their truth is threatening to you, and this happens from time to time in various degrees. Obviously, I'm using a fairly large degree of conflict here for example, but it often is happening in smaller degrees, and so what to do often if we're unconscious, if we don't watch, we can get into a power struggle. In other words, we feel like maybe our truth seems to be the right way to us, okay, and their truth seems to be the right way to them, okay, and so there can be like if they don't see it my way, I can be upset. It's like I only feel good if they see it my way, and so or maybe we choose the more passive approach, and we choose to just abandon the way we see it and go with their truth. Okay, and then we're not being true to ourselves. So the thing I want to suggest, it's maybe not intuitive, or it might not make sense. What would happen if we honored both truths? Okay, and then, so one isn't right and one isn't wrong, even if they directly conflict. Let's just say that, so for me, this is true, okay? And for my friend, okay, what she is saying is true. And say they're not in agreement, or say that they cause challenges for the other. What if we just declare them both to be true? In other words, there's a true for me and a true for her. Okay, and we're going to let go of there being this objective truth, like my truth is the truth, where she thinks her truth is the truth. We just figure, this is my truth and this is her truth. And to just allow them both to be true, even if there's conflict. You can, however you do that, agree to disagree or whatever else, and just acknowledge that, wow, you can kind of have this meta moment and just like wow, it seems like our truths are not in agreement. It seems like there's some conflict here. And rather than asking one or the other to give up their view so we can be the same, we just sit with the difference, and we sit with the diversity and with even when there's conflict, and just say, wow, we're not seeing that. And what happens in my experience is when we do that, some amazing things can happen, because we're both in our truth. We're both being true to ourselves. Okay, and then we start understanding each other. Okay. And when we let go of the need for their truth to jive with my truth, or them to be what, another way I've said this in the past, is for them to be who I need them to be. Okay. It opens up a whole different thing. Now I can start dealing with it like I see it this way, she sees it this way. And it's true for both. Okay. Now kind of some healing can start happening. Some magic can happen. We actually start knowing each other. Okay. And then of course, sometimes when it happens, there's agreement. Okay. In fact, usually if it's a good friend or a significant other, is usually more often than not, our truths are fairly aligned. But when they're not, rather than getting, upset with each other and just noticing, it's like, wow, these are not in agreement. And it seems to be, we're almost triggering each other with this. So what if we just say, you know what, we see this differently, and just allow that to be. And when we do that, things can start working out in some amazing ways, because we start understanding each other, and we start seeing that although at first they were in disagreement, we start understanding our view more, and I start understanding her view more, and we start seeing that maybe they're two sides of the same coin, and maybe they're not as different as we thought, or maybe that my expression and her expression, and maybe that is, maybe we learn to appreciate the difference. If we don't need to find this objective truth, and if one of us doesn't have to be right and the other one is wrong, if we're both right, okay, then maybe we can start like really knowing each other and finding richness in this difference, and just start saying like, she's very much this way and I'm very much this way. And maybe that can be a positive thing. Maybe we don't need to be the same. Maybe we don't need to agree on what's right. It's like, we were doing Sharing Circle the other day, and this came up. In fact, that's where I got the idea to do this blog. And the example I used is that it's like we're taking a different test. Like, my truth is one test. The correct answer on my test and my truth is this, and the correct answer on her test is this. Okay, we're assuming the tests are the same, but maybe we're taking a different test. Our reality is slightly different. Our truth is slightly different. So my answer is right for me, and her answer is right for her. And if we can just hold both of those as being right and both of those as being true, some amazing things can happen. And I think that's as far as I want to take it. I think my challenge and invitation to you is to try this and see what happens. I mean, I could explain, I could try to explain actually, what happens when you do this. But I think it's even better is to try it out as an experiment, to try it out and discover. It's like the next time you're in an argument or a disagreement or you're triggered, it's like, notice, like, is this about me needing to be right? Is this about my truth needing to be the truth? And what if we just agree to disagree? And what if we just say, wow, my truth is pretty far off on that? It doesn't mean we can't go out. It doesn't mean we can't be friends. It doesn't mean we can't work together. It just means on this issue, we see it differently. And maybe both are true. So anyway, that is my video blog for this week. It's a simple skill, but one that's very powerful. I'd invite you to try it out. And I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you so much for watching. And as you go through your week and you have a disagreement with someone, which maybe you will this week if you're like me, just notice, like, what is my truth? What is their truth? What if they're both right? What if we view them? Maybe just try, like, what if I view these things as both being right? And I let go of my need of one of us to be have the true truth, or to have the objective truth, or to be correct. What if we just say, you know what? We agree to disagree. It's so interesting that you see it this way and I see it this way. And I will see you in a week.